Most of the time now, we settle for half, and I like it better. But the truth is holy, and even as I know how wrong he was, and his death useless, I tremble, for I confess that something perversely pure calls to me from his memory. Not purely good, but himself purely. For he allowed himself to be wholly known. And for that, I think I will love him more than all my sensible clients. And yet, it is better to settle for half. It must be. And so I mourn him. I admit it. With a certain alarm.
It's the arousal by the play of anxiety. It's an engine that starts to throb. And just the sheer physical throbbing of that engine is transfixing. The idea of a man fulfilling his destiny is absolutely compelling. The play represented for me, however, an experiment. I wanted to see whether I could write a play with one single arc instead of 3 acts where it rises to some kind of a crescendo and then the curtain comes down, and then it goes up again and the curtain comes down, and then finally it explodes and the curtain comes down for good. I wanted to have one long line with one explosion, which is rather the Greek way. We've all forgotten that the Greek plays are one-act plays. That's a continuous action. I just aesthetically liked the idea. It was simpler and more direct. But it also, when I heard this story the first time, because it came from a story somebody told me, it seemed so perfect, the way it was made. On the one hand, it was so obvious. It was obvious that Eddie Carbone was going to get in trouble if he kept doing what he was doing. And yet he was so obsessed he couldn't stop it. And nobody could stop it. It was obvious to everybody around him that the trouble was coming. It was obvious to him that the trouble was coming. And it came. So it was a play with no surprise, really. One knew in the beginning what really more or less was going to happen by the end. And I liked that a lot, because what was really involved was not what was going to happen, but how it was going to happen, which is a much stronger way of telling a tale. What happened was I wrote the original version, which was a one-act play. Then Peter Brook wanted to do it the next season in London. And I had learned one thing in watching the play, and that was that I had not really allowed into the play the viewpoint of the 2 women sufficiently. And so I added material for them, which built up their viewpoint, their characters. And I guess in the final version, Eddie is more closer to being a suicide than in the first. And I think what I was after was to make the audience achieve the self-knowledge. They want him, possibly, to realize what's happened. And just soon they walked away with it, rather than the actor, that they knew as a result of experiencing this play what had gone, where it had gone wrong, how it had gone wrong. The verbalization, though, to me, is not important. I'm not sure Oedipus knows what hit him.